October 20th, 2017. Valve finally gets off their lazy ass and puts up the Pyro update, otherwise known as the Jungle Inferno. Unless you've been hiding under a rock for the last few months, you've probably noticed quite a few changes. Granted, some are more significant than others, like new maps, new weapons, old weapon rebalances, etc, etc. With all this new exciting stuff going on, I wanted to take a moment and talk about the panic attack. The one health hero. The hold on one moment, I need to load my weapon. The panic attack was added in the 2014 Smithsmith update on December 22nd, 2014, alongside the Iron Bomber and the Quickie Bomb launcher. It was a community contributed item, becoming the only all-class shotgun and still is to this day. Over the years, it's had quite a few major overhauls, going from a beggar's bazooka-like shotgun, it would fire faster the less health you had, to its current status, which now fires at a completely fixed rate regardless of your health. Why did the TF team change this weapon? What am I supposed to do with its new current stats? It's really hard to tell what this weapon is, or what it was intended for. Is it an ambush weapon? Did the game creators give up and make it a meme? Maybe the TF team at Valve HQ will tell us more in the next update.
One eternity later.
The July update of 2015, or the Gunmetal update as it's commonly known as, brought much needed buff to this underpowered weapon, with an increased base fire of 15%, bringing it up to 30%, a faster reload speed, and a faster switch speed of 50%, making it rapidly deploy, load, and fire. You gotta load it first. Then, the December update of the same year comes in, bringing in more good stuff. Another buff! The Tough Break update added a mechanic where once you've loaded the shells into the shotgun, they stay there until you release mouse 1. It would start firing and wouldn't stop until the chamber was empty, firing faster the less health you had. Now that I think about it, this buff really only affected engineers because they were the only class who used it as a primary. However, back then you only ever really saw two types of engineers. The turtle, who had his wrench out 95% of his existence, or the combat engineer, running around spamming his mini-sentries and using the guaranteed critical hits for every time it gets a kill. I actually remember using the panic attack after the Gunmetal update all of 3 times, and 2 of those times I got killed by the same pyro also wielding it. Shit, I'm starting to get off topic. After the December update, the panic attack stayed exactly the same for 2 years, almost never seeing the light of day.
Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Jungle Inferno brought a complete overhaul to the weapon again. It was given another 50% switch speed buff, on top of the 50% it got back in Gunmetal, making it deploy in the blink of an eye. But here's where it gets interesting. The number of pellets fired was increased by 50%, and the weapon now suffers a 30% decrease in damage, along with a very wide fixed shot. For those of you who don't know, well, all 3 of you, most weapons, including the stock shotgun, have a random bullet spread enabled. The panic attack will always fire in a perfect grid pattern. But the biggest change was the weapon now comes fully loaded with 6 shots instead of 4, and each successive shot, meaning the longer you keep firing, the bullet spread continues to grow larger, making it less accurate. We've gone from a shotgun you had to preload 4 shots before using, and the fire rate and spread increased the less health you had, to its current version, which comes fully loaded, does a whopping 5 more damage than the stock, but only at point blank range, and becomes less accurate the more you fire, and fires just as fast at a 450 overheal heavy as you would at a hair's breadth away from death. In most situations, this weapon has a lower DPS than stock, meaning you'd be better off running literally any other secondary for the 4 classes. The panic attack is the only shotgun unlock that can be used by all 4 of them. This means that it has to compete with not only the stock shotgun, but also the sandwich, the second banana, the flare gun, the detonator, the gas passer, the thermal thruster, all of Soldier's backpacks, the bison, if you're into that, the frontier justice, the rescue ranger, the widowmaker, everybody's favorite weapon, the reserve shooter. All of these weapons provide a utility, a fun game mechanic, or an interesting alternative playstyle. Because of all the different weapons that it has to compete with, and still be balanced with the stock shotgun, I really just can't imagine someone using it unless they're memeing. If you've made it this far, I'd like to thank you for listening to my rant about the tragically overlooked and underused weapon in a dying game. I'd like to hear your comments about the panic attack. What do you think Valve intend for it to be? Do you think it's underpowered? Do you think it's overpowered? What changes would you make to this weapon, if any? This fucking guy is gonna go back to being the best engineer with the worst possible aim. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.
Hit it, Doc! Come on, hit it, Doc!